Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Let me check my mic. Hi, folks. It is time for the tea. Time for the tea. Hello. I'm so ready for this conversation this morning. It's been a really interesting week. And if you guys have had a week like me, then you definitely need to be sitting down on your Saturday morning and having some tea, right? How's everybody doing? Hope you are all doing really well. As you guys come in, I'm still making my tea actually. This is my tea making situation right now. I literally put saran wrap over my tea so I can hold on to the heat, right? But yeah, I'm having this morning some peppermint from this company called the Republic of Tea. Now, you know that they must have really good tea when there's an entire republic that is based on that. And then I'm having this traditional medicines organic ginger. So I'm doing a ginger peppermint blend up with lemon. So it's like a whole situation that's happening. And I'm excited about our topic today. We're going to be talking about how to know if you're good enough or if you are too late to have the life that you want. Because for some of us, those two paradigms are things that we actually live with and struggle through, but we don't ever actually talk about it. So this morning we're going to have some tea. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my week and how I was coming face to face with those thoughts as I went through my day. Hi, morning, Lexi. So, how do you know if you are good enough? When you start to ask yourself questions like that and you start to kind of doubt, whether or not you're qualified or whether or not you can be qualified, is directly correlated to something that I think probably they talk about too much, and maybe dumb it down a little bit or make it seem a bit more scary than it actually is. But it's the whole imposter syndrome discussion. The part that's usually missing is really understanding how that ties into when you're going after new things or when you're going after something that you've never tried before, or even if it's something that you've done before, maybe you failed in the past. And now when you are getting ready to try again, you may be wondering, feeling a little bit uncertain, not so sure, right? So oftentimes we get into this space where we start to ask ourselves, am I really good enough? How do I even know? How do I even know if I'm good enough? Like, is that something you can measure? Is that something you can test? First of all, we're not even asking ourselves, can I test it? Let's just get real, right? We just automatically get into the space where we start having the thoughts that we're not. And this sometimes will happen when you're looking at what's going on with other people. That comparison thing is like, talk about it being the thief of joy. It is really the thief of joy. And it can also come in place when, you don't know what steps to take. So this week for me was kind of like that. I decided to start writing again, and writing a book is a process, right? It's not like you just get up one day and decide, oh, I'm gonna write, and then you just sit down and the book just come out. No. Okay, it is a mental process, because unlike what you think happens, especially now with Chat GPT, you actually go through an internal kind of managing of your thoughts and thinking about what you want this book to mean for the people that you are connecting it with, right? And of course, as soon as I started to sit down and started to have these thoughts about stepping into author space again and book writing space again, then I immediately am like, oh gosh, maybe I missed my window, because, everybody's putting out a book now. I mean, have you noticed? Like in the last 3 weeks, we have book from Jada Pinkett, we have book from Kerry Washington, we have book from Nicole Walters, we have book, it's just like all these books. And then of course you have the bestseller lists, and as soon as somebody launched them thing, it's like it hit bestseller right away, right? So in my mind is starting to, it's almost like it's doing an algorithmic calculation. it starts to calculate what is the likelihood of my book doing well, considering all the other books that are in the space right now, right? And then I'm starting to think about all the different things that I am personally challenged with right now in terms of just setting up myself in a new space and not really wanting to be posting on social media. Like, I love this space, this is great for me, but to be constantly putting out content, and then my mind is telling me, well, all those things are required in order for you to actually have the success that you want, so I spent literally like 2 days just trying to get the negative self-talk to shut up, because it was so intense. It was so intense, right? And I don't know if maybe it's because we're getting to the end of the year. You know how that happens, right? You get into the end of the year and you start to feel like, oh crap, did I achieve half of the stuff I set out to this year? Did I line up all my ducks in a row, my T's, you just start to examine all of that. And you're approaching a new year and you're starting to think about what you want to achieve next. So you're coming under all these different types of what I call mental pressure, right? And when that mental pressure sets in, it's really easy for you to now start to have the feelings or the paradoxes that are saying, is it too late for you? Is it too late for you? Is this the right time for you? Are you good enough to actually achieve any of this stuff that you want or that you think you want to achieve? There's enough evidence to say that you really can't. And I'll tell you guys, Tuesday in particular, I think it was Tuesday, maybe it was Monday, I literally had to step away from what I was doing. I had to step away from my machine because I felt like I was having some kind of mental warfare. There were just so many thoughts that were contrary to the type of person that I am becoming, contrary to the life experience that I'm creating for myself, the life experience that I'm creating in my community. There's so many different parts of me that were bucking up against these thoughts that are telling me, oh yeah, don't bother try right now other book. You miss your window. The first book, like, you didn't even get to market it because it came out in COVID. So what are you even going to bother to go back and do a second one or a third one or whatever? What about your journal? Your journal, you haven't even been promoting your journal. Like, I mean, literally, guys, I tell you, I had to get it from the laptop and go and lay down. And sometimes when we have these cycling thoughts that are pulling you down, it's like an energy vampire just sucking out your energy. Now, stay with me. I didn't mean to come here to depress you on a Saturday morning, right? We're going somewhere. That's why you got to have tea, because you got to sit down and you got to listen and you got to absorb it. So I was feeling all of these different things. And so I decided that first and foremost, I was going to talk about it. And one of the things that talking about the things that are going on in your mind helps you with, which is why I am such an advocate for therapists and coaches, is because in your mind, it's almost like a wonderland. It's almost like this playground where you can make up any single thing you want, because it's the same mind that allows you to dream up these great things that you want anyway, right? And so the mind that allows you to manufacture these amazing dreams is the same mind that is going and telling that you can't achieve the dream then, right? So the first thing that you have to do is you have to get out of that space where your thoughts are just carrying you down these downward spirals, these rabbit holes that are not supporting your greatness. So that's the first thing that you got to do. And that's what I did by unplugging. Now, keep in mind, I wasn't sitting at my laptop working on the book. I wasn't sitting at my laptop trying to make content or to do anything that had to do with it. I was actually working on something completely different. But because that's what my heart wants now, that's what my heart is pulling me towards. And you know that all-consuming feeling, right? Whatever it is that your heart is pulling you towards. Maybe it is you have a new love interest, right? Maybe it is that you have this new dream job that you're going after, or this new promotion, or you have this house that you see that you want, or a car, or whatever it is that is out there for you. You have this thing that you want. And it's almost as though you're building up a mini mental obsession about it. So even if you're working, your heart is pulling you towards the thoughts related to the thing that you want. Okay? And so because your mind is doing this churning, you have to break the cycle. And one of the ways that I break that cycle is by having conversations. So I decided first and foremost that I was going to have my podcast episode that went out this past week be all about the paradigm of imposter syndrome, the paradigm of the too late paradox, and how the two things overlap. And as I was doing the research for the episode, I realized that many of the things that I was experiencing, I've heard persons talk about these things from their own experience. And I thought to myself, this is so valuable. Like, we need to sit down and talk about this. Because at any given point in time when you're going through your week, you're going to come across something that makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to get over this hump. Some weeks, maybe you're one of the lucky few who you have your weeks in a momentum. Because, you can go through those moments where you have this momentum and you're just like 2 weeks, 3 weeks going strong. And for the most part, things just kind of ramping up. But you see, when you hit that roadblock, that's when these thoughts start to come in. So first thing that I usually do is I start to talk about it. If I'm not talking about it, it usually takes me a little bit longer to get to a therapist or a coach, but I'm certainly going to start talking about it with my audience. I'm going to get on my podcast mic, which is the same mic that I'm using right here. I'm going to get on my podcast mic and I'm going to create a conversation about it. That's the first thing I do. Sometimes I might slip into a meditation. I might do like a yoga nidra to just kind of refocus my energy. Sometimes I'll get into like a gratitude kind of thing, like put on a gratitude song, depending on how it's pulled my energy. Like sometimes when you think about not being good enough for something, or people going find out, say you really don't have no sense when you try something, right? Like these are the thoughts, right? Sometimes, completely cutting off the thought, like a taxi man in Jamaica cutting you off on the road. You need some music, you stick some music in there, and that tends to distract you enough. But the distraction is not something that lasts. Distractions are only momentary. So you do have to actually face the things that you're thinking about and lean into the emotion of it. Last week, we were talking about the intelligence of emotions and how oftentimes we downplay how much wisdom is built into the fear that we feel. It's always, everything is for you in life, So whatever it is that you're experiencing, the feeling that you're having or the thought or whatever, it is meant to serve you in some way. What ends up happening a lot of times is that we get so lost in the negativity of some of the thoughts that it gets us stuck in fear. And we keep attracting more and more of the exact thing that we don't want. And it's the same thing that happens when you are looking at, am I good enough? When you're having the self-doubt, the things that you're thinking you're not good enough for or you're not good at, the longer you think about that part of the argument is the more you attract proof that you are not good enough, right? So this is me now this week with my whole book writing thing, I writing again and thing. And I spend an entire day, I call it the day of doubt, like I was telling my friends. I was like, I had a full day of doubt, literally, because it just popped me down straight, right? And I have all the tools. As a matter of fact, I forgot to pull an intention card. I just started talking. I have all the tools, right? I make the tools, I make the tools. I make the cards. I make the journals. I make all the things. I have the lives, right? And I was feeling like I had an entire day of doubt. That's how it felt. It felt like I spent an entire day just battling negative self-talk. And I don't have no problem saying that happened to me. For some of us, we think it's abnormal, but there's many of us that this is literally what's happening. And it's especially true when you're in these spaces where you're surrounded by so much information. You're seeing so much content with so many people who seem like they don't ever have a day of doubt. They're always on. And it's never too late because them on them game. And that's just not the reality for me. And I know it's not the reality for many of us. And I don't want to live in a world where I am not able to actually speak up about that and to say that this is not the reality. Because when you act like you don't have these moments, then the challenges that are sitting there percolating underneath, you never actually deal with them. And so what happens is you may have, for example, a fear that you're not good enough for this new love relationship, because you have really messed up in past relationships, right? Or because you were mistreated in past relationships. But you know what? I'm not gonna deal with that. I'm not gonna deal with that. I just have to find a person that's my type. I just have to find it. You're not dealing with your stuff. You see the fear there, and you just bury it as much as you can with whatever you can, right? And then you decide that you're going to now go after this thing, this person, this new love person, right? And you're out there in the world, you meet somebody, and then boof, buff, same thing happen, or a different thing, but the same type of feelings. And then you say, you see it, I know I shouldn't have enough because I know I'm not good enough, or I know I'm too old, or I know I wait too long, or whatever. So it's like this self-perpetuating prophecy that you end up creating a cycle around because you're not willing to face the feeling that you're having about whatever it is that is in your space. So I decided this week I was going to face it. And talking about it was one thing. And then I decided I was going to, if I made it to the end of the week and came out on the other side, I was going to do tea time about it. So that's why we're here to talk about the tea. So that's the tea for me this week. The tea for me was that I had a whole day of pop down in doubt. And then I literally shake up my head. Like, I mean, sometimes I have to wonder if I was out in public and people see me shaking my head, if they wonder if something was wrong with me. But literally, it's like this external way of saying to my thoughts, all right, enough of you now. And I remember now, guys, what I was working on. I was working on my new website. And I was going through the site and I was having all these different thoughts about, the things that were wrong and stuff. And in the middle of it, I sent the designer one long message, telling him all the stories about all the things I'm not happy with, all of that, right? And when I listened back to the voice note that I left him, I was like, oh my gosh, when you hear yourself in the doubt and you hear yourself in the too late paradox, you just recognize that you're in victim mode and it's not empowering. And there's so much more that is available to you. And if life is for you and the universe has your back, then what is all of this language that you're using that is not supporting the direction that you want to head in? Right? And so I literally listened back to the message. I was like, oh, listen back to the message. And then I'm thinking, this man must think this girl is bipolar, because 1 minute I'm giving him all these instructions. And then the next minute I'm here saying, oh, I don't think we can launch the site because of one. And sometimes we get into that. Sometimes we'll be at work and we run into a problem and we find ourselves talking to our teammates or our bosses about all the things that are going wrong in the world. Like we don't have any power and like we can't change anything. Oh my gosh. Isn't it amazing when you can get the next? It's almost like you get a second win. Like you get this rise in you that says, no. But there is so much more. Look how many other things you have actually created. Look how many other things you have actually overcome. Why don't we go looking for examples of people that have done amazing things, no matter what age they are in their life? Why don't we go looking for people that have inspiring stories, despite having been gone through imposter syndrome and whatever kind of I'm not good enough feelings? So I decided to do just that. After I was there talking to myself, I decided to do just that. And so I went and I was Googling, my best friend Google. I know all of y'all have best friend Google as well. I decided I was going to go looking for persons, maybe authors, because since I'm talking about this book writing, right? I said, let me go looking for authors that may have doubted themselves or, whatever. And then I dug up Toni Morrison. Oh my gosh, like amazing author, Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Prize winner. And when I read about her story and saw that, she didn't even think she had the gift of writing. She used to work for a publishing company. And it wasn't until she was like 3 books in that she believed that she could actually do this. And I was like, whoa. And this wasn't happening in her 20s, guys. Okay. This was not happening in her 20s. This was in her 40s, right? So after she working in the space seeing all these books that she's editing or whatever the work that she was doing, and her own dream of being an author was just sitting on a shelf. I can just imagine the thoughts that she was having about not being good enough or it not being her time, right? And and so when I read that, I was like, oh wow, this is really encouraging for me. And then I found another story with Michelle Obama when she was on her book tour, and she was actually just talking to people about battling with feeling like she wasn't good enough when she was going to Princeton, and like she just didn't have what it took. And she said that what she did was she just put the pedal to the metal and just do the work. She just buckled down and just decided that she's going to do the work, you know? And whatever support system she had, she was able to do the work with those support systems. And I thought to myself, okay, all right, I feel a little bit better now. There are examples of persons who, may have been at different stages in their life and may have at some point thought they didn't have what it took to create whatever it is that they wanted. And they sorted themselves out. So I can sort myself out too. And I remember reflecting and saying, I really need some accountability in this. I really need like a coach or something to really help me to navigate the negative thoughts that I was having, because there were so many, and not so much the work on the thinking part, because you're gonna have, I have therapists, I have coach friends, etc. It was more so the action in the midst of it, because that's what really breaks this spell. What really breaks this spell of how to know if you're good enough is taking the step. And you may not even know if it is the right step, but it's a step. You have to do something. You have to make a move. Because when you sit in it, not only is it painful, but you're not moving any closer, right? You're not moving any closer to the thing that you want. So you have to kind of decide. You have to fully just make up your mind that, okay, scared or not certain, and doing it anyway. And you might have to make up your mind about that over and over and over again. It's not necessarily just a one-time decision. Sometimes it's a decision that you have to keep making. And that's what I've realized about this particular stage in my life, because it's almost like I'm doing so many things I have no clue about. It's like when I was making the cards. I had no clue how to make no cards. Guys, I'm in tech. My background is fully tech. I went to school for it all my life. Every job I've had up until a certain point when I got to C-suite. How me know about draw? What do I know about this? Right? I didn't know nothing about it. But I decided that I was going to keep taking those steps. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. I've been deciding now that I'm choosing to make a big shift in my life. I'm going to keep taking those steps. So we talked about two things. We talked about talking about it out loud. So you're dispelling these thoughts that you don't know, that you're not good enough or that you're too late. So you say it out loud. You start to say it out loud. Maybe you send a voice note to your friend, or you talk to your coach, or you talk to your therapist, or you talk to your spouse. You say it out loud, because when you hear it out loud, no, it don't sound practical. So that's the first thing that kind of gets you, over that initial hump. And then you take that step. What is that next step? What is the step that you can take to move you in the direction of what it is that you want? That's the next thing you take. You take that step, right? So I took the step of moving in the direction of what I wanted. And that step was really simple. It didn't come up. I wasn't writing a strategic plan. No, I was actually looking at other persons. The step I took was to look for inspiration. I took that step. And then the next step I took was I signed up for a writing club. It magically, I call it magical. This is how I know that life is on my side. Because I was literally just on IG a day later. And as soon as I'm on IG a day later, guess what I see? I see somebody, one of the authors that I follow, said that she's starting a writing group. And then it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? And so I joined the writing group, and now I'm in the writing group every week, right? I'm, so that I can get back into that mindset of doing the work, Yes, isn't it exciting, Lisa? Yes, it's absolutely exciting, right? And then no, I was in this where I was telling you that I was feeling like I needed support, I needed a coach, I needed somebody to talk me off this ledge of you're not good enough and nobody now gonna read your next book, right? When I was sitting on a like 2 days later, I got a phone call from one of my friends in Jamaica, and she was actually calling me about something completely different because one of her companies supports teenagers, and my daughter is in her program. And she called me about that, but we never even get to talk about that until 2 hours later. Literally, we spent the 2 hours and she was just talking life into me. Like she didn't even know that I was having a tough week. She had no clue. She did not have a clue. She did not have a clue that I asked for support, that I said out loud, gosh, I wish I just need some support. I just need to talk to somebody. She did not know that that was happening. And then boom, she just calls about something completely different that we didn't even get to until the end of our conversation. So all of that to say, you can know that you are good enough because you are. You are here, and you are the person that had the initial thought, the initial desire, the initial dream. And as long as you're the container that has that initial thought and dream, you are the person that's in the container that has that, then you are the person that can actualize that thing. Why would you dream it up otherwise? I mean, that's just how it's got to work. Every time you look around you and see something that somebody else is doing or that somebody else is creating, it's because they had that idea, or them get that idea and download it from something, them get inspired by somebody, right? And then they decided that they were going to go after it. You already have every single thing that you need inside of you. So knowing that first, and knowing that life is on your side, and knowing that everything in life that is happening, even when it doesn't feel good, it don't look good, right? Sometimes the hurt is such a debilitating feeling from whatever it is that you didn't get to actualize. Even when all of those things are true, guys, it is pointing you in the direction of your becoming. It's pointing you in the direction of what is best for you. You just have to know that. Once you know that, then all the other thoughts that are negative, that are going to be seeking to deny what exactly it is that you want to create, all of those other thoughts will eventually dissipate. They might show up as other things, right? Because I've talked to you about this is not like a one-off something where you just do it one time and then it goes away. No, all of those thoughts, they cycle back in different ways at different times when you want different and new things, right? And so the knowing comes before the question, am I good enough? And if you can resolve that, it's like you have to believe it before you can see it. And it doesn't matter what your spiritual background is, right? It doesn't matter what your spiritual background is. You have to know it. You have to see, you have to essentially, many persons wait thinking that they're believing after they see the thing. But for the grand moments in life, when you have something that your heart is so passionate about that is pulling you towards this amazing dream, whatever that is for you, you're going to have some knowing and some belief before you even step into it. And so this is where the knowing part comes in. Knowing happens before the thought that says, am I good enough? Or before the thought that says, am I too late? And then if you actually want to test out, that's another thing, guys. Like, you don't have to know what you're doing before you do it. Like, you don't have to be sure. You don't have to have a degree in the thing. I don't have a background in media or journalism. And here we are. This is a media experience. I'm mediaing right now, right? I'm practicing my journalistic skills. This is my show, right? We live in a world today where we just have access to so many different opportunities, whether it's through the internet or through how connected we are now, right? And so it's really up to us to decide that we're going to take it on. And if you feel like you want to try something new, like me, I'm trying a lot of new things. and you're not sure if you know what you're doing and you're having all the thoughts, then actually ask the question. Ask objectively people that you trust to give you an honest answers, not the ones that tell you what you want to hear. Ask them, I'm thinking about this thing, do you think I have the skill set? Am I qualified? How have I done this in the past that serves you? And if if it's a completely different field that you're getting, you don't have any track record, then just figure out what in order to get to this place that you want. As an example, I've already written a book, so I know the process of becoming an author. I've already, published affirmation cards, so I already know that path. But for the things that I'm not familiar with, I'm going to go and I'm going to get help. I'm going to go and I'm going to seek out persons to give me insight. I'm going to take a class. I'm going to join all of the free webinars everywhere. I'm going to download what I can download, the ebook, the this, the that. So don't sit there saying, am I good enough? Oh, I don't know how to do it. And you don't actually just take the steps. The steps are available to you to take, especially with best friend Google and, Chat GPT and all of the fellows, right? You have everything you need within you to move towards the life that you want. Yeah, you do. And it doesn't matter what age or stage you're at in your life. It doesn't matter when you're starting, if internet and TikTok and everybody else, IG, all these different things have been around for a long time and you don't have a million followers. It doesn't, none of that actually matters. All that matters is that in your mind's eye, you have made a decision to move towards something that you want, and that you know within yourself that life is for you and that you have everything you need within you to achieve the thing that you set out to. So today's card is actually the one I had up on my story yesterday. And it's a great card. It's I know who I am. And I just love the image. I partnered with an artist, and she actually drew these by hand, and then we digitalized them, right? But this card is one of my favorites because this young lady here, she just looked like she knows about her business. She knows who she is. She already is sitting in the knowing that she is greatness, right? And so this week I had to draw for this card to remind me that I am not the voices in my head. I'm not the fear in my heart, because the fear is real. You feel it in your belly bottom. You feel the fear. It feels paralyzing sometimes. Oh my gosh. I'm not the thoughts and opinions of others. Oh my gosh. That's definitely something that holds us back when we are in that too late space, especially when you come from the Caribbean and you have the grandparents and Mathagoseti. So you're going to pick up that now? You don't think it's too late for want a man? Like, write book, you can't write. Like when you come from the Caribbean, you have especially Jamaican parents or Jamaican family grandparents. Let me tell you, they be breaking some stuff down for you. Sometimes you have to, you have to really catch yourself. Anyway, guys, yeah. So this morning's tea time. So the tea was first of all about my self-doubt day. I had a day in doubt where I was literally popped down. And it really helps to reinforce that we need to be having these conversations, because so many of us have greatness that's buried within us at some level for something. And we have not sat with the realization that we have everything we need. And all we have to do is start taking those steps one step at a time, a little step here, a little step, just to move us closer to finding out what we need to learn or how we're going to grow for this thing that we want. So I'm encouraging you as you go into your weekend. It's a beautiful Saturday here in Atlanta. We actually have nice weather today. It's going to be, I think it's 60 degrees. Have a nice, cool day today. And I'm going to be picking up my grandma from the airport. She's coming to spend Thanksgiving, and I'm so excited about that. So I'm just encouraging you to step powerfully into this weekend and then going into the week knowing who you are and trusting that person to show up for you every single day. And whenever you can't remember, just come back Go back and look on YouTube. The live is actually going to be reposted on YouTube, the replay, so you can always get to it when you want to get a little bit of inspiration. All right. So enjoy your tea, guys, and I'll see you again next week on Tea Time with the Balanced Lady Boss. Take care. Bye.